Shalom, shalom. This is to all my students that are listening to this. Tonight is the Hanukah night for the lunar calendar, the Jewish calendar. So for those of you who are celebrating Hanukah, happy Hanukah to you all. And have a wonderful 8 days of Hanukah. And those of you who celebrate the solar calendar, the Hanukah started on the solar calendar on the 13th of this month. So we are already today, according to that, we're in the 6 days. So today will be the 6th candle, whilst in the other one it will be the first candle. So whichever one you do, that is Hanukah. Hanukah basically celebrates a time in our people's life when they were under, let's call it occupation. They were occupied by the forces of Greece and was today known as, Alexander's generals. After Alexander's death, Alexander the Great's death, he had 4 generals that occupied various geographic regions. One of those regions that they occupied was Israel. And so at the time of Maccabees, they had to fight a large army. They were a small guerrilla force. They were not that big. And the Maccabees brothers was a priestly family, by the way. So a priestly family had to rise up from the house of the Levites. They had to rise up and they had to raise this guerrilla force to fight the oppression and to free themselves, because Torah was banned at that time. Torah could not be practiced openly. So they had to not only fight for their freedom, for Torah, but also for the temple, because the temple was also at that time was occupied by the Grecian people, and they had installed their own priest and they had idols in and around the temple. So these Maccabees family, they not only rose up, but they also freed the temple, freed the people, and freed the establishment of Torah study and worship again. So they did a lot. They did a lot for Israel at the time when everybody else was hiding and trying to do things covertly, because a lot of the things were overtaken by the Grecian Empire, and also a lot of the Greek theology had mixed into the society. So therefore this time celebrates the festival of lights. But remember, we did not have an 8 candles menorah. We had a 7 candles menorah, and that is the menorah that the Maccabees brothers lit. And the festival that they actually celebrated wasn't called Hanukah, it was called Tabernacles. And Tabernacles at the time, they were already 3 months late. It was December. So they came before God in December, apologizing to God and saying that to be sorry about the fact that they could not do it in September when the actual festival took place, so they did it in December. So that God would accept their sacrifice or sacrificial offerings, and that's what basically happened. So God accepted them, and so they continued their new life and their new society at the time. So that is what Hanukah celebrates. These days we have an 8 candles Hanukah, and people usually have them in their homes, and those that don't have them can still light candles if they wish or desire to do so. You can light up total of 8 candles for the 8 days, 1 candle a day. First night is 1 candle to the right, second is 2 to the right, third is 3, etc. And usually the woman of the house, the lady of the house, usually lights up the candle, and you say a prayer. You basically give thanks to God for the miracles He's done in your life, and then you light the candle and you have savory food, sweet food, etc. So remember, I spoke about the law of expectancy. Now the Maccabees put that into effect. They not only put that into effect, they believed in it. Because remember I told you our people believed in the law of expectancy. And when they went to fight the larger army, they knew they were against massive forces outnumbering themselves. Anybody would have said, oh, they're going to get defeated and they're going to lose. But the Maccabees expected God to come and help their guerrilla forces and help them in their battle and win the battle for them. So that was the expectancy, and the expectancy was met, and it was, they were delivered from what they expected. They got a delivery. Such was a belief of the family. They were hardcore believers. They did not want anything less. So similarly, in your life, when you want something, first of all, you have to be clear of what you want. You have to be absolutely clear. Sure, if you said, I want a car, and today you said you want a car of yellow color, and tomorrow you decide is blue, and then another day you decide is white, it's okay, because you can change the colors of the car as long as the model is the same. But what today you said, well, I want Ford F-150 truck. Tomorrow you say you want, I don't know, maybe you say you want a GM, and then another day you say you want, a Chrysler, and then you kind of keep changing. That would definitely be a call to failure, because you keep changing the model of your car. You're not consistent. So first of all, get clear what it is you want. I mean, I'm just using the car as an example. It doesn't have to be a car. It could be a house you want to live in. It could be your health. It could be a relationship. It could be a sum of money. It could be a salary in a job. Now, I want to give you a clear-cut definition of a salary and a job, because I can take you there. Why? Because I did it myself many times over. So when I went from my job in England from 30 to 50,000, I went from 50,000 to $100,000, double the salary. So how did I do it? First of all, get clear of what you want. Get clear. Now, in your case, let's say that you are in, you're in IT, you're a software engineer, or you're some other field. So you have to first decide, where do you want this double salary? If you're earning $100,000 and you want $200,000, or if you're earning $50,000, you want $100,000, you have to first decide what career path your double salary will come in. In other words, what will you be doing? You have to be clear in that. For me, I was very clear that I wanted my salary in IT. I was already in IT. I just wanted to move up the ladder. So from wherever I was at that time, I wanted to move up the ladders, and there was a ladder to move up to, and I moved up into that ladder. So I was very clear on what I wanted to do, and I was very clear in what area I would be, delivering my services, so that I could expect to earn that salary. So similarly, when you decided on your salary, I'm giving an example of double your salary. It may not be double. Maybe you want 50% increase, 60% increase, or 70% increase, or whatever it is. Aim for double. Aim for double. Then you can set, you settle at 50, 60, 70%, and perhaps you double, and maybe you get more than that. But when you decide on your salary, let's say you're a software engineer. In software engineering, there are many departments. Now, one of the departments that can give you a nice big salary is, for instance, in the department of network engineering. Routers, bridges, things like hubs. In that department, you're controlling the network of a company, and companies are more than happy to pay you, $150,000 to $200,000 salary easily if you're in that if you're focusing in that area. Now that area, there are qualifications that you can make yourself. You can go out and get the qualifications, private study. You can privately study, in network engineering, and you can make those qualifications whilst you're working. Similarly, maybe that's not something you want to go into. Maybe it's the field of security. IT security is big these days, big, massive. In IT security, people who are trying to get qualified in IT security are making, they're making 6 to 7 digit salary. Some people are making $250,000, $300,000 salary in that field because it is such a vast field. Security, banks need security, hospitals need security, companies need security, everybody needs it. So in software engineering, security is a big field. Maybe, some of you are in IT, maybe you want to think about security side and get qualified, privately qualified in those areas. You can do exams privately, you can study, and that could be pushing you towards that bigger salary that you desire. So that's just an example. And similarly, you might be in the telecommunication field. Similarly, in telecommunication field, there are areas where you can make more money, and there are areas where you'll make less money. So decide, be clear on your salary requirement. After that, be clear on how to get there, what services you're going to offer. So like I said, that if you have to get qualified, if you had to get qualified as an engineer in security, you'd obviously go and study and get qualified in the engineering side. Similarly, for electronics engineering or in telecommunication engineering, you'll study to do the next level. So you offer a better level of service, you are more in need, and people will hire you for that. So that's just to give you some example of structure. In other words, you set your goal, and then you work on your goal, and then you get your goal. So that is easily a structure. You can't just say, oh, I want $200,000 salary, but I want to just sit down and do nothing. So that might be a little difficult. Yeah, I'm not saying you won't make it. I'm saying you may still make it, of course. You might still make it. But the thing is this, that of course you have to give some service. Even if you're sitting down, because these days people can work from home, they work from remote offices, and they can manage the networks, routers and networks from home. My younger brother, he works for Vodafone. He's a network engineer, and it was on my guidance that he went into network engineering. So I told him at the time to go into network engineering, and there was good money in that field, and it was a field where there was less competition at the time, and even now there's less competition. And he continued to study in that field. He passed his various exams, the NCP and all these other exams that they do for network engineering, and now he works for a telecommunications firm, but he makes, last I spoke to him, I think he's on around $90,000 or somewhere thereabouts. $90,000, I think it's about $85,000 or $90,000 income a year, and so he's very happy. So my point is that there is a way to do it, and there is a way to get there. Now, some of you want to go into business. Be very clear on what business model you want. Be very clear on what you want to do. So what I'm trying to say is what you don't want in your manifestations and desires is to be unclear. Unclear, or one day is one thing, then 2 weeks later is something else, and then 3 weeks later is totally different. So don't be like that. Be clear on what you want. Write it down if you have to, that what you want, and then look to what you can offer, what services you can offer, and then you will get there. Similarly, you will get there. Now, I'm not saying that you can't be a millionaire from home. Sure, you can. But I'm saying that at least you lay the groundwork, and then from the groundwork, you get to where you want to go. It becomes much easier, and almost it's like, stepping stone. You step 1 step, 2 step, 3 steps, and you're on your way. So that's what I would suggest. Also, I have noticed that when we as a people, we have, different, fears, anxieties, stresses, the least you want is fear and anxiety and stress. You want to remove those from your vocabulary. You want to remove those from your life. I know it's very difficult, easy to say, hard to do. But try as much as you can to remove anxiety, remove fears, because they can put you totally reverse to where you want to be. If you have anxieties and if you have fears, you will go reverse direction of where you want to be. Negativities will push you in the reverse direction. You see, we as a human body, we technically, we have a frequency. We vibrate, technically. We have a frequency, and we kind of line up with different frequencies in the world. Everything, goes by frequency. And so if you want to resonate at 100 FM, but you're resonating at 80 FM, then of course you're different frequency. You're not at 100 FM, you're at 80 FM. And so in order to be at 100 FM, maybe there are things in your life that make you resonate at 100 FM. But because you're constantly in stress, you get fear or you get anxiety, and therefore you instead of resonating at 100 FM, you come down to 80 FM. So try to help yourself. Maybe it's music that helps you. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's yoga. Maybe it's, whatever form of therapy that relaxes you. Perhaps, it's meditation for some that relaxes them. For others, it may be music. Whatever form of therapy helps you, use that therapy to try to resonate at 100 FM. So when you resonate at 100 FM, that is where you manifest your desire. So this is my advice. Also, notice this, that when you brought up as a child, different families have different rules, different parents have different opinions and different type of voices. And one thing that can hurt your manifestations is that if your parents or your guardians have taught you otherwise, to think that money is hard to come by, or maybe the rich is only for the few, or you have to be born with a golden spoon in your mouth in order to be rich. See, these are prevailing theologies or thoughts. So one thing you can do to help yourself, the glass is half full. In order to make the glass full and clean, the glass is not only half full, it's half full and it's dirty, because it's got old theologies, old beliefs, old thinking in there. So the way you can help yourself is you can pour new water onto it. You can clean it up. And the way you clean it up is, if you take, let's say you take one affirmation. Let's just take one affirmation. And the affirmation, let's make it very simple. The affirmation is, let me find a nice and simple one. I am wealthy. Okay, that's a very simple affirmation. I am wealthy. So let's take the affirmation, I am wealthy. So when you go to the bathroom every morning or every evening before you go to bed, when you brush your teeth, if you say to yourself, I am wealthy, looking in the mirror, in the morning and in the evening, at least you say it 2 times. So if you say that throughout the day to yourself, that I am wealthy, you're actually making the glass full. And you're also removing the debris and the dirt. When you continue to pour clean water into a vessel, when you continue to pour clean water into a vessel, if the vessel had dirty water, eventually the clean water continuously pouring into it will clean out the dirty water. So that is the analogy I want to give you, is to speak, and it doesn't have to be I am wealthy. You could choose another affirmation that you so choose to fit to yourself, and you could use that affirmation daily in your speaking 2, 3, 4 times a day, and that helps to clear the mind, instill new technology into you, and also clear the debris, like the dirty water. It cleans it up, it refreshes it with new water. You can continue to pour new water into it, and it becomes full with that. So that's the analogy I want to give you. So use these techniques, these technologies, And these techniques and technologies will help you to make you the person you desire to be. Don't be disheartened. Don't be in anxiety, because anxiety and to be disheartened would cause you to step back 2 steps. You're moving 1 step forward, stepping back 2 steps. In other words, you're reversing onto yourself. You're not going where you want to go to. So in order to go to there, you want to step forward with that clean mindset. It's not easy all day to keep a clear mindset, because all sorts of thoughts. We are thinking about all sorts of thoughts. We are having inner conversations many times that are negative. We are watching things on the internet maybe, or outside, maybe of negativity, related to negativity, news, maybe other things, conspiracy theories and whatnot. So be careful, be careful to, every time you do that, check yourself and bring yourself to positivity. Every time you do that by mistake, or because it's that time of the day, and that's when you sit and think about the negative past. So just stop and just tell yourself that those negative thoughts are not you, they're just thoughts. Observe them, let them go. Thank God for the experiences that it took you through in the past. Thank God for that, and then come back and start afresh. Start telling yourself that you are that great person, you're a wealthy person, you're a successful person. Tell yourself that, so that you can move forward with that new energy. Everything that happens for an experience, for good. In order to continue to do the good, continue to dwell on the good. Continue to dwell on the good, and try to keep away from negative people that want to pull you down, so that you can move forward. So with that, it's this time, the time of light is a time to reflect, for us at least. It's a time to reflect on the past, for the good that God did to our people, so that we can give thanks. Gratitude is amazing. Give thanks to God for everything in your life, and you may move forward with a happiness and joyness in your life. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful time, wonderful festival, and until the next Shabbat, I wish you shalom. Shalom, shalom.